A freezing wind tore through the open service corridor of the glass tower as a tired janitor knelt on the marble floor, scrubbing coffee stains that had already dried into dark scars, while upstairs a powerful CEO was about to decide whether this same man even deserved to keep his job. The single dad's hands were cracked from chemical burns, his uniform was frayed, and his eyes were heavy with worry, yet no one in the shining building saw the storm inside his heart. He didn't know that by the end of this day, his entire life would be shaken by the roar of a helicopter and a truth so powerful it would silence every insult ever thrown at him. This was the day a broken man would be tested, humiliated, and then unexpectedly lifted from the shadows. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of ordinary people, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Bright Hearts, because stories like this remind us that no one's life is ever truly small. The janitor's name was Daniel, a 38-year-old single father who had lost his wife to illness 3 years earlier and had been raising his 6-year-old daughter alone ever since. Every morning before the sun rose, Daniel would prepare her breakfast, pack her tiny school bag, walk her to the neighbor who watched her, and then rush to the corporate tower where he worked 12-hour shifts just to afford rent and medicine. He had once been an engineer, skilled with machines and numbers, but when his wife became sick, he gave up everything to care for her, draining his savings and losing his job in the process. By the time she passed, all he had left was his daughter and a janitor's uniform. Still, he never complained. He just kept cleaning floors that shined like mirrors, even when people stepped over him as if he were invisible. That morning, however, something felt different. The building buzzed with tension because the CEO, Victor Harlan, was scheduled to inspect the lower floors. Victor was known for being ruthless, a man who believed only success deserved respect and weakness deserved nothing at all. As Daniel wiped down the elevator doors, he overheard executives whispering about cost cuts and firings. He tried to push the fear away, reminding himself that he had done nothing wrong. But when Victor walked in, wearing a sharp suit and a cold expression, his eyes locked onto Daniel like a predator spotting easy prey. Without even asking his name, Victor began criticizing the floor, the dust on the railings, and the tiny streak on a window Daniel had cleaned just minutes earlier. The humiliation was swift and brutal. Victor accused Daniel of being lazy, of not caring about his work, of being another useless expense. People in suits stood around, watching as if it were entertainment. Daniel tried to explain that he had just started his shift and was doing his best, but his voice trembled under the weight of fear and exhaustion. Victor didn't listen. With a sharp gesture and a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, he fired Daniel on the spot, telling him to hand over his badge and leave the building immediately. Daniel felt his chest tighten as if all the air had been sucked out of the room. He thought of his daughter, of her school fees, of the rent due in a week, and his knees nearly buckled. He walked out of the tower holding a small box of his belongings, his head bowed as people passed by without a second glance. Outside, the sky was gray, matching the emptiness in his heart. Daniel sat on a bench, staring at the ground, trying not to cry. He didn't know how he would tell his daughter that they might lose their home. He didn't know how he would buy her the asthma medication she needed. All he knew was that he had failed, even though he had tried so hard not to. But what Victor and everyone else in that building didn't know was that Daniel wasn't just a janitor. Years earlier, before tragedy struck his family, Daniel had been part of a specialized emergency engineering team that designed and maintained safety systems for private aircraft and helicopters. He had left the job to care for his wife, and his credentials were now buried in forgotten files. What mattered to him was not status or money anymore, but keeping his daughter safe. Still, the skills he had learned never left him. As Daniel sat on the bench, a deep, thunderous sound began to echo through the air. At first, he thought it was just another passing aircraft, but then the noise grew louder, stronger, until people on the street began to look up. A black and silver helicopter appeared in the sky, circling the corporate tower like a watchful guardian. It descended slowly, landing on the building's rooftop with dramatic force, sending wind and dust into the air. Security rushed to control the area, and employees crowded the windows in confusion. Even Victor, in his corner office, was stunned. No one had scheduled a helicopter arrival. Moments later, a call came through to the front desk, requesting Daniel by name. The receptionist hesitated, confused, but soon security guards were searching the lobby for the janitor who had just been fired.